So this video is my least favorite books of 2020, which I hemmed and hawed about making for a really long time because I don't like to talk negatively about other authors' books because I know it's painful to get constructive criticism, but I also feel like none of these books, minus one, did I really hate. I just was very neutral about them, and two of them, the author is dead. So those two I just don't care. The other three, I really did not dislike that many books. Only 10% of the 50 books I've read this year were books that I truly like 3 stars or less, or got 2 stars or less. Because I was either neutral or positive about most of the books I read, and I really try to be that way because it sucks to have people dislike your book, and taste is all very subjective, so just because I dislike these books does not mean there is anything wrong with them. Well, like, there's something wrong with them in my mind, but they might still be a very good book, and obviously the author thought they were just fine because they wrote them. These are just my opinions, and I'm sorry if an author is watching this and a book that they wrote is on here. You're still killing it. Okay, so I'm going to start with my only DNF of the entire year, which was The Hazelwood by Melissa Albert. I have actually heard a lot of good things about the actual plot of this book, so that's great. I did not get far enough into it to talk on the plot at all. I just really could not connect to the main character. She gave, like, to me, strong, not like other girls vibes, and there was just too much girl hate in the very beginning, and I just cannot stomach that kind of thing in novels very often anymore. I don't even think I got to the part where she meets, like, the male, like, friend or whatever that she, like, goes on the adventure with. I don't even think I got to the point where he is introduced. I think I stopped reading after she was, like, in a coffee shop working and some weirdo came in, but she was just, the cattiness she had towards her other female co-worker, just, I couldn't stomach it. Now, if you were to tell me that Alice, the main character, has, like, a complete change, or she grows a lot over the book, or it's really the only instance where this is happening and I should give it another try, I will try and read it. I think part of it was, as much as the audiobook narrator is actually someone I like, I think the inflection she gave to this character's voice added to my dislike of the characterization, and I could not finish this book. But if you in the comments tell me I need to finish this book and give it another try, I will. The other 1-star book of this year was The Big Four by Agatha Christie. It is marketed as a novel, but it is really more of a collection of short stories, none of which are very good, and the climax is really, like, it just was nothing like an Agatha Christie book, and I did not know what I was getting into when I picked it up, and I was very disappointed. But Agatha Christie is dead, and she does not care about my opinion. Like, she is selling, you know, still to this day. And even if she was alive, she would not give a shit about my opinion. But if you want to read an Agatha Christie book, this is The Big Four is not it. That is not the one to pick up. Then I had two 2-star books all year. I had a good year as far as reading goes. I also only read 50 books so far, and everything else is a reread. But I know I pick books that I tend to think I'm going to like. And I thought I was going to love Stain by A.G. Howard. Cover's beautiful. I think it's in the other room on my other bookshelf. Beautiful cover. Features a mute protagonist, which I thought I was going to love. But I did not care for the way, personally, A.G. Howard circumvented the fact that her character was mute. It felt kind of like a cop-out, and I was looking for a book with disability rep. I care a lot about seeing disability representation in books, And so I was super excited because she was mute, and I felt like it wasn't what I wanted out of a book, and it was really romance heavy, which I didn't care for going into it. But if you love a romance heavy book, she's got flowery, like, nice writing. In a lot of people's opinion, I don't care for nice prose either. My favorite author is Brandon Sanderson. He's not like a lyrical, writer. But if you like lyrical and flowery prose and romance in your books, you might love Stain. I just, it wasn't what I was hoping for when I picked it up. But that doesn't mean it's bad. It just wasn't what I was looking for. And so I could not enjoy it. And it also just does a lot of things that I don't typically enjoy in novels personally. But that is not a fault of the novel and just my personal taste. The novel is not problematic or anything. Not my taste. The other 2-star book was probably the biggest disappointment of 2019, and that was A Gathering of Shadows by V.E. Schwab. I loved A Darker Shade of Magic, and so I was super disappointed in A Gathering of Shadows. I'm still going to read A Conjuring of Light though, because I have a feeling Conjuring of Light's going to be a kick-ass end to this trilogy, or like the first era of this trilogy or whatever. I think I'm going to love the 3rd book. I think Gathering of Shadows is probably just middle book syndrome. I don't know. It just wasn't my favorite. I didn't like the weird, it felt like Lila's character changed a lot in the 2nd book from the 1st book, and I didn't like her in the 2nd book, and she was my favorite character in the 1st, so that was probably why it was so hard for me to like the book, is because I didn't like my favorite character anymore. But again, I'm still going to read Vicious and Vengeful, and I don't know, but I'm still going to read V.E. Schwab pretty much endlessly because I like her prose style, I like her world building, I liked most of her characters in A Gathering of Shadows and A Darker Shade of Magic, and I think I'll like them in A Conjuring of Light. And I appreciate her as a person on Twitter, making me feel better about myself as a writer. This one just didn't hit for me, but that's okay. Some people really love this book, and you do you, boo. It was a disappointment, and that's I think why I rated it so low, and not because the book was actually a 2-star book. I don't know, but I'm not going to reread it immediately soon to find out. And then the only 3-star book that I put on my least favorite books of 2019 is Treasure Island. I had a lot of 3-star books this year. I read a lot of books in a certain genre and age category that I felt were very okay. And just okay. So they were 3-star books, but they weren't anything bad, and I wouldn't put them on my worst books of 2019. But Treasure Island is here because I want to read it as a physical book, because I have no idea if I don't like it because of the story or if I didn't like it because of the performance. And so I rated it 3 stars because I didn't know how to rate it, but enjoyment level was a 1 star. It was so hard to force myself to keep listening to this audiobook, and I just was so unsure if I just really did not like the very theatrical, overdone, full cast performance, because it just felt really overdone, or if I don't like it as a book. So I just gave it 3 stars because I was so unsure of how to rate it when I finished. But did not enjoy any second of listening to that audiobook. But those were the only 5 books I read this year that I could say like were less than neutral reads for me. I had quite a few neutral reads, but like that's just when I read a lot of one type of book, fantasy, books that other people could really like if they don't read a lot of that genre just kind of fall flat to me because I read so much of that genre and they don't seem as special to me because they're not that unique when you read a lot of the genre, if that makes sense. But they weren't that bad. They just weren't that great. So we're not going to talk about them. Yeah. I don't know. That's it.